Hey guys, this is Ming here from agentsofspeech.com. Today we're going to talk about speech therapy for autism spectrum disorder, okay? And speech therapy for ASD children, that's in short form, okay? Children on the spectrum is rather different from, ABA therapy or occupational therapy. We can talk about the differences in another video. Actually, this is a topic that we went through in our live videos. If you want to know when, it's on Mondays, and just click on the notification bell, get subscribed, and you won't miss any of it. Okay. So first of all, what we speech therapists do is that we focus on communication intent. So we do talk a lot about this in Agents of Speech. Basically, what it means is that how often, how much does your child want to talk to you? Okay, want to initiate some form of communication with you, and that's basically communication intent. And why we focus on that is because we don't really want to teach the form of language just yet. We want to get the root problem, which is, do they even want to talk to us? We want to get them to start wanting to communicate first, whether it's using gestures, words, pictures with like PECS, picture exchange communication system, or even using an iPad, like a communication device, what we call AAC, to communicate with their communication partner, which might be their dads, their moms, or a therapist or whatever. This is very important that we go through communication intent. And most of the time in the beginning, you see the therapist playing and building routines and whatever. That's building towards teaching them to have the intention to communicate with us. Okay, that's the first point. Secondly, speech therapy, we focus more on prelinguistic skills for children who haven't yet spoken, what we call at the prelinguistic stage, right? So prelinguistic skills is basically a set of skills that are required for a child to be ready to talk, right? And I'll link this video by Laura, who's a great senior speech therapist. I learned a lot from her. I'll just put the video somewhere here, okay, or down in the description box. So these prelinguistic skills, ABA or OT or whatever other therapy or early intervention, they might not really address, okay? And the theory is that in speech therapy that we want to deal with the roots. Like we want to make their skill set wide and the foundation solid until we teach more stuff, okay? So you might see in a lot of other therapies or ABA or whatever, the therapist starts to teach like using words, making the words into like a longer sentence. Like for instance, example, they might teach "I want cookie," right? Whereas in speech therapy, you might see a lot more that they're building, as I said before, building communication intent, building a routine, teaching them some prelinguistic skills. And you might ask, what are some examples of prelinguistic skills, right? So some of them are like eye contact, joint attention, right? Pointing, turn taking, right? Imitation, using some social gestures and signs. Some babbling, some symbolic sound play or something. So all these things are prelinguistic skills that we all use and we teach, okay? Which sometimes are overlooked in other types of therapy. Not saying that they're not doing the job. So sometimes they inadvertently are working on those prelinguistic skills, but they just don't talk about it in the way that we do. Okay, when I say we, I'm talking about speech therapists. Okay, and the other thing that we work on a lot is the pragmatic part of language. So let's say that your child is learning to say "I want cookie," all right, in a therapeutic session, all right? So we can split that into a few aspects in language. So first of all is the form, like they're using a sentence form of "I want underscore something," like underline, fill in the blank, right? That's the form. The content is like the meaning of the word, which is like "I want cookie," meaning the child wants that thing, okay? And then there is also what we call a language use, which is generally said to be the same as what we call pragmatics. And what that means is, what's the function of the language, right? So there are different functions in the language. So we're trying to build up the different functions in language, such as, requesting, which is a huge one. Like if your child wants something, they're hand pulling you, then their language use, they're pragmatic of that, the hand pulling is actually requesting, right? There are a lot more of why children communicate with us, not only for requesting, commenting, pointing at something and say, "Hey, mom, look, that's an airplane," right? There's a question, right? Mom, what does that mean? Like, what is that? Asking questions. Fourth, answering questions. Does your child know how to answer questions? That's also language use, right? And the list goes on. You can have, negation, saying no, rejecting, right? So all these types of communication reasons of some sort is what we call pragmatics or language use. I'm throwing a lot of terms at you, but when you hear it, at least you will understand kind of what the therapist is talking about, right? So we build a lot of that. The difference between like speech therapy and other types of therapy is that we take these into account. What's the function of the language that they're using right now, so that they don't always get stuck and always requesting, always get stuck at saying no or rejecting your what you tell them to do, right? So you're building up on that so that they have different reasons to communicate with you, they have more intent to talk to you, and then afterwards you can deal with the different vocabs, the structure and sentences and the grammar and so on, right? And the last thing I want to talk about is that in speech therapy, we don't really have a lot of time with the child, right? And we don't have a lot of time to talk to the parent. And that is actually the most important part. And that's why we're doing this right now through video. Okay, you might spend like 45 minutes with a speech therapist, and at the end of the day, you might get like 2 or 3 minutes, or if you're lucky, like 5, to talk to a therapist and learn some of the techniques and skills that we use in the clinic. So a very big thing that I think I can speak for other speech therapists is that we believe to teach you how to fish instead of giving a fish. Teaching a strategy so that a kid knows how to acquire language is very important. And also teaching you how to teach and facilitate language at home is also strategies that you can use. And strategies are long term, okay? Tactics are short term. So if I teach you like, oh, you gotta bribe them, you gotta reward them or whatever, you gotta teach them with these toys in this way, those are tactics. You use it once or twice and you get some short term gains, right? You get some attention from your child or whatever. But in the long term, you need to teach a child to learn by themselves, right? Which in the long run, it might be teaching them to read, teaching them to cue themselves, teaching them to comment, teaching them how to ask questions for clarification so that they learn more words, so on and so forth, right? It depends on the age, how your child is right now. And also we have to teach parents like yourself to learn how to facilitate language, okay? And not just spoon feed the child with all the answers. Allow them to think, teach them in an effective way. That's why we focus on strategies instead of how-tos. And this is where a lot of parents will say, your advice isn't concrete at all. It's all very good and stuff, but how do I use it? Well, it's the long-term thing, okay? So that's why we try to balance between teaching you like a tactic, something that you can do right now at home, and a long-term strategy, okay? Because most of the time it's about how you teach and communicate with a kid, all right? So that's it for this video. If you have any questions, please put it in the comment section below. And if you haven't, you can go to agentsofspeech.com/checklist to grab a checklist of all the tools and toys that we recommend parents to use during home therapy. And it's becoming more and more important because this pandemic has been stretching. So please go there and download it if you're interested, and I'll see you in the next video real soon. Bye.